Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
For all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Happen in 49, 61, 63 or 69 when they reach the final. But the class of 2021 have delivered. Leicester City are FA Cup winners at last and are history makers at Wembley.
They have blown their rivals away. They have blown us all away in truth. Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City!
Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right there, all right at the back. How the devil are we? Good mood still. Good mood. It's funny, and Dan, when he comes on in a second, will probably totally agree with this. It's funny how one win can just make you so happy, and the loss can make somebody else so miserable, and how much fun it is to see that other person suffering in that misery because it's not you for a change. This is Leicester Till I Die. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, Leicester Till I Die TV. If you're on YouTube, please give us a subscribe and smash the like buttons. And if you're listening on podcast, honestly, over 20,000 downloads of our podcast in just over a year. Honestly, it blows my mind. We're on all the main ones. We are on Amazon, Apple iTunes, Google, Spotify, Podcast Addict, to name just 5. This is where we are.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform, or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Some people turn to drink. That was Dan last night. Today, I think he's actually decided to turn to food and his comfort eating, because just watching him in the back room there, it was actually just a normal sized bag of crisps. His face disappeared into it. I mean, I don't know. He came out like a little squirrel. All his cheeks were full of crisps, honestly. But yeah, first away win of the season, first win of 2022, and only our third clean sheet in the league this season. Am I gonna milk it? Too bloody true I am. Good evening, sir, and enjoy those.
Good evening, Christopher. How are you? I've managed to fight my way out of the crisp packet. I can breathe again.
It's more than your players could do last night.
To be fair, I ate the crisp out of it first before I used it as a ventilating system, so don't worry about it.
Nice flavour.
Sour cream and cracked black pepper.
Whoa, I say,
Ew.
Yes. I always like to have a few prawn cocktail flavors. It just reminds me of the missus. Anyway,
Scampy fries, Chris.
Here we go. We've started already. I think your missus might be right in the fact that it might be me bringing out the bad side in you. Before we start, as always, and I'll say this and I'll carry on saying this until it's over, we stand with Ukraine at this time. Just pray for them. Anything you can do. We're sat here talking about a game of football. They're over there losing loved ones and homes and the country, basically.
There you go. I've even done the pillars.
Oh, well, you're better than your colour on your channel. That was shitty brown, wasn't it? But as you can see, we've got the blue and yellow. And that's proper yellow, that is. Blue and yellow in the background. But yeah, we are thinking about Ukraine at this time. All the best to them. There's a football club for sale. If you've got the odd few £1 billion about, Chelsea are up for sale. You don't know who he's going to sell it to, but maybe Chelsea's look, mate. I mean, they've had this, we need a new manager. Let's get rid of the old one. Let's get a new one. You've got to pay him off. It doesn't matter. What you want, 24 or 5 million for him? Yeah, that's no problem. That could change.
It could. You've got to worry about Chelsea at the moment. I mean, last time I checked,
you haven't really, have you? Be honest. You're not really worried about Chelsea.
Well, I mean, when it comes to teams at the top, you worry about how they're getting on. I mean, in terms of, as you said, it's usually for Chelsea been a bit of a managerial merry-go-round. Once it's not working, it's one chopped and the other one in. The fact that it's now at boardroom level makes Chelsea look like a bit of an interesting prospect. Is it going to go, down the pan, or is some tycoon going to come in and keep them going?
That's the way it's going, though, isn't it? Every club has got a manager that has got an owner that's got a reasonable deep pockets. But
to be fair, though, Chris, $3 billion he's put it up for. It's like somebody said on one of my previews before. It won't be long before your football club is owned by a country, let alone a business.
Well, Newcastle technically are, aren't they?
Technically, yeah. Technically, yeah.
So, I mean, I think the big worry about all this is when your owner wants to had enough. It's his. I mean, in fairness to Roman, he hasn't been, like the Glaziers or the Conkies or anything like that. He does, until he was banned, he was turning up at games and he has supported them. Apart from when he couldn't, his managers, he's always supported his managers in the transfer window. But I can't see that they're going to be around forever. And
no,
that's the worrying thing. Everybody's, owned by a rich billionaire, and you can easily just fall from grace as quick as you can make your money. But good evening to JB. Hi, was the Burnley fan at the game yesterday? He wasn't, and he was probably happy that he wasn't. But he did.
I did get offered a ticket. I did get offered a ticket, but obviously being on the watch along with Chris was too much of a pull. Too much of a pull to go to Turf Moor, and I'm glad I said no.
Talking about being too much of a pull. Hello, Kate. How the devil are you? Mange toi as normal. Welcome along. Wouldn't be the same without you. As Kate says there, yeah, he sat through it, and I still need to. Is
that the French version for Mongi toi?
No. Hang on, I should have it ready. No, it isn't.
I did cut the word off. I did say toi. So
you did.
I'm learning.
David,
slow process.
Baby steps. How are you, David? Hope you're well and still celebrating. Okay, didn't realise you did. I was at the match. JB, yeah, I mean, let us know what your thoughts of the match were. I mean, we all know well, those of us that saw it, sort of, let me just get rid of the background there. Those of us that saw it know how it went better for Leicester. And I've got to be honest with you, Dan, that's the first time in the Premier League we've won at Burnley.
Is it really? I did not know that. Fair shout.
Yeah. Shows you weren't
also
listening on the preview show, because I did mention that fact. Next time, I will do a test at the end and expect you to take notes.
To be fair, at that point, Chris, I did have a drinking problem and a swearing problem. Now I'm a detox cleansed man of the cloth, and where through some watch-alongs, I've been a man touching cloth. But but no, it were. You also managed 90 minutes without an injury as well, it seems. So that's also another positive.
Might have had a twinge, I think. I think Pereira might have had a twinge, but it was a long time coming. Like I say, Chris, you were wrong. Am I wrong?
Yeah, on so many levels.
Well, yes, I am. Yeah, I honestly thought, and I'll just double check. As I say, for me, I was worried going into the game yesterday. I did think that you were going to do better, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, we didn't perform. We did pretty similar. You were there on the Crystal Palace watch along, and it was the same. Burnley, wasn't it? Came out of the traps from kickoff. Literally got forward, got on the front foot. But every time we had the ball, we did naff all with it. Absolutely nothing that we could have done. Your back line was resolute. Massive shout out to Daniel Amarty, because he had a game of his life. Played out of his skin, cut everything out. Was there if, Soyuncu wasn't to flaming pick up the pieces. So, yeah, all in all, you can have possession of the ball. It's what you do with it once you've got it. And we didn't do anything.
I'm just going to say, JB, if you just bear with me, because I got these. I'm just going to change things over, because I was going to bring something else in, but don't want to argue with you, JB, and I'm sure you may well be right. But this is what where are we here? This is what I got, and I can't find it. Sod's law, isn't it?
Is it winning at Turf Moor or just winning against Burnley in the Premier League?
Oh, no, winning at Turf Moor.
I would say that might have been the difference, because I think you might have said with just, first win over Burnley in the Premier League.
Oh, no. It was the first time oh, God, I've got to try and find it again now. Yeah, I used to be good at this. Right, let's see. This is going to work, he says.
Go on, Chris. Who's that? Get that professionalism up on screen. Go on.
I know. It's you. I just come. No, because it's a picture. It's refusing to. No. Basically, according to the Premier League, the other day, Burnley, we played each other 13 times. You've won 3. We've won 6. There's been 4 draws. Burnley have won all 3 of theirs at home, and I do apologise. I did read it wrong. We have won 2 away. Sorry, I did. I was reading the wrong side of the coin. So you're quite right. Yes, we did. We did beat you away. We have done it before. So,
is it us that haven't beat you at the King Power?
Yes, I think it could be. Yes, yeah. You've drawn
in the Premier League, shall we say? In the Premier League.
Yes, yeah, JB, you're quite right. We beat Burnley a few seasons ago. Maguire got sent off, and Maddison scored free kick, and Morgan scored. Bloody hell! So yeah, you're quite right, JB. Thank you very much, Jordan. Good evening. How are you? Kate, Chris, I think you were 2 points above me this week with the predictions. Well, of course I am. You didn't expect you were going to stay top for long, did you, Kate? So going into that game, I mean, we spoke about it the other day. This was the team that your manager put out. How did you feel about it?
At the time or now?
Both.
I mean, at the time in the match preview, I even said to you, I don't understand why Brownhill and Westwood are playing together. Both players are too similar. I don't know why he changed the winning side from the Spurs game, to be honest. He kept it for the Palace game. I get that. I can understand bringing Taylor in because obviously Eric Peters were knocked. But I'd have still kept Weghorst and Rodriguez up top and left Cork in the midfield with Brownhill. Westwood, for me, I'm starting to see cracks in his game, even though he's been one of our standout midfielders in recent seasons.
Well,
but I think
shorts falling down.
I just think Josh Brownhill's sort of got all the same attributes as Ashley Westwood, but with more creativity and a little bit more flair and noir on the ball. But Jack Cork's more sit back and defend, where Brownhill gets forward. Having two players that goes forward leaves your midfield very open and prone to, counter attacks. And I think that were a massive downfall in that game. And as I said, I did say that in the match preview.
Yeah. But that would have. Where would you want to start with Cornet then?
No, I wouldn't have started with Cornet at all. No, I'd have stuck with that same team that beat Spurs and got the draw at Crystal Palace, because I just think, in recent seasons, Dash has had actually he's stuck with the same team through numerous amount of games. I mean, you only have to look to the beginning of last season where he kept sticking with Wood and Barnes, and you were just like, none of them are hitting the barn door with a banjo. None of them are. They don't seem to be working together as they once were. And why are you not changing it? Why are you not changing it? But I don't think he needed to change the side, and he has done. As I said, I understand Taylor coming in. It's really bad news after the game, obviously. Losing Ben Mee, he might be out for a few weeks, from what I'm hearing.
Right. It didn't look that. No disrespect. I'm not
no,
saying
no. I mean, he walked off, didn't he? I mean, he elbowed a little bit, but
and he carried on as well, didn't he? After his injury for a bit.
Yeah. I mean, that could have been it. He could have, done a bit more damage by continuing. Yeah. However, he'll be a big miss, a big voice on the pitch, a leader, our captain. So this is where we need Tarkowski to step up in the final few games of the season. But all in all,
I think you need Tarkowski to learn how to see where the ball's going and head it.
Well, yeah. Christ, I can't believe he ducked out of that header.
Did he? I don't think he looked out of it. I just think...
Yeah, I think he's anticipated it. It might have just been where we were on the pitch, where, the light, he looks up, looks at the ball, but yet the lights on the top of the stand or the floodlights, etc., hit him because of the angle maybe, and he's just sort of off the stand.
I think anywhere else on the pitch, we wouldn't even be talking about it. But the fact that it nearly led to a goal.
Well, it let Daka in, didn't it?
Yeah, It was just like I said, because him, and I don't know whether it was Robert in that position, but he went up with another player. The other player, I think, got it, and I think that took it over Tarkowski's head, but he was kind of looking like, where is it? And it had already gone over his head. Lost. Yeah, it looked funnier than it probably was, to be honest with you. Looked funny from our end as well. Going to say hello and welcome to Talking the Turf TV. How the devil are you, sir? Fatigue got the better of us. Leicester's high press killed us. For me, we got off lightly with a 0-2. I mean, we did say this, whether not having the game at the weekend for Leicester would help us or hinder us, because, they say when you've not necessarily had a brilliant game, you want to get back on the bike straight away when you've fallen off it.
You said, though, Chris, as well, you said prior to kickoff to watch down that left-hand side. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall and Harvey Barnes, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's Tarkowski we're after, not Ashley Barnes.
But, Harvey Barnes and KDH were absolutely formidable down that left-hand side, and you called it before the game. All the attacks came down that left-hand side. And, you punished us, mate. You punished us big time.
Yeah. JB, I thought we was far better than Burnley all over the pitch and should have been more.
I agree. I do agree with JB there. I just think
it should have been more. Let's be honest with you. But
should have, yeah.
I mean, is he in the England squad? Is he picked for England these days?
I doubt
and
it.
If not, why not on that performance?
Yeah, well, 3 words: big club bias.
to be honest with South, I thought Southgate was going to be different. I have to be honest with you, because he started out that way, and there's a Leeds player in there, there's a couple of Leicester players, but he seems to have got into the same old habit that all the other previous managers have. But I tell you what, I think, I mean, you called it at the end of the game. Schmeichel could have been sat here with me having a box of Pringles. You know, he had one save, in fairness, and apart from that, he had a very, very quiet night. I think that and I'm surprised. This is what surprises me, because you suddenly started to turn it around. You'd had two really good wins. You beat Tottenham, but apparently you can do that if you're a championship side anyway. And okay, you didn't win against Palace, but you didn't lose. That was a game that you'd have probably lost earlier in the season. So I was surprised that, they said that Kasper had so little to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Reece said there at the bottom of his comment. I think Cornet isn't really much of a threat up top as a striker. I'd say play him on the wings. When we've seen him in games, he's played on the wings. He's sort of done a bit like an Ian Robben role, tried to cut in, get the goal, just right place, right time. I mean, being up front is starting. I think Dash has asked him to play sort of like Chris would on the shoulder of the last defender. You've got the pace, try and nip in there, but with that pace, he's going a little too early. And as we saw, we could have gone 1-0 up in that game, and it were rightly ruled out.
No, it was. I mean, if I'd have been you, I would have been a bit pig sick. I'm going to have to be honest with you. Having watched it, it was one of those.
It definitely was. It was definitely tight. To be fair, I've looked back at the highlights of the game, and take nothing away from Leicester. It just that was a game that screamed how bad is English refereeing. Something needs looking into. I'm not saying in general decisions, but I just think that altogether, the Chris Kavanagh's performance as a ref in that game, even Sean Dash came out and said, "I'm not saying nothing." We all know what the referees in this league are like. Yeah. But I'm not saying that was anything bad on Leicester. I'm not saying that things were given against us. I'm not saying things were given against Leicester. It was just, there was no explanation to anything. We don't know what happened with that Ian Warne situation, why our assistant manager got booked. Nobody said anything. So, yeah, it was interesting. And I can't take away the fact that you literally, never gave up. And you fought to the end. And at 82 minutes, we were blowing out of our arse and couldn't really do much more. Simple as that.
First one. I mean, just these are some quotes I put up earlier from the BBC. Burnley have lost 2 of their past 3 home league Premier games after losing just 1 of the 8 before that, but 6 draws in that, in fairness. Leicester won an away Premier League game by a 2-goal margin for the first time in over a year. My God, since beating Fulham 2-0 at Craven Cottage in February 2021, which literally is a year ago. Burnley faced 22 shots against Leicester, last facing more in a home Premier League game on April against Manchester City. Since his Premier League debut on the 31st of August 2014, Leicester striker Jamie Vardy has been directly involved in 168 goals. That's 128 goals and 40 assists. A haul only bettered by Harry Kane in that time. Fair enough. He now holds the record. He's taken over from Ian Wright as the most for a player over 30 scoring the most goals. And I've just seen a thing on the BBC. Then it says, "How long can Jamie Vardy go on for?" And again, I called it I've called it all season. That I think Daka's going to be the one that comes in, and Vardy is going to be like he did last night. He's going to be the one that comes in for those last 20 minutes or so. And I didn't know what would happen last night, because obviously last night he was coming back from an injury. But you know, you must. I suppose the first thing is you must have been glad when you didn't see him on the team sheet, but then you must have been like, oh my God, when he came on.
Yeah, I think you called it in the match preview that it's one of those where if he starts, so you're sort of like, right, if we nullify his game to begin with, you know, then it's a completely different game. But you also called it again by saying, you know, bring him on the last 20 minutes, 10, 20 minutes, and he'll do something when, you know, the opposition's got tired legs.
Yes.
I agree with that, Reese. I really do. But however, just you can't stop Jamie Vardy against Burnley. You can't, no matter what we do. I mean
you can't blame Pope for either of the goals.
No,
really.
no. I mean, the first goal, even Pope's come out in an interview at the end of the game and said, "There's nothing I could have done. I was blindsided by Tarkowski, I think, when he initially took the shot, and he's gone full stretch anyway. He said, no matter what, I wasn't getting to it. The second one, I think our left back Charlie Taylor has just literally let Jamie Vardy run in front of him and bag the winner. So I was
going to say it's nice to actually talk about another team's defensive problems and not our own, because that was very much Leicester-esque defending for that goal. I mean, Vardy, like I said yesterday, tactical genius that Brendan Rodgers is with his substitutions. Always said that all season. I've been saying what a great tactical technician Brendan Rodgers is, but. You know, it's great when you do that and it comes off. It's like, you know, it looks brilliant. But the two subs did for you when they did come on. And we were sat there, certainly with Maddison and certainly with Lookman, that they weren't in the starting 11. And yes, we've got Leeds on first game on Saturday, but we haven't had one at the weekend. There's no reason. Sorry.
So come on, Leicester.
Yeah, we're doing a watch along, so you can actually come on and have a look, see how we do for you. It will just be typical Leicester, though, that we've had good performance like that this season, and we'll go and Leeds will beat us. But and I'm going to come back to Reese's point in a minute. But I mean, it was. I sat there, and like I say, it just reminded me of Leicester's. It was almost like we had a good defensive game. You know, you didn't get a lot past us at all. Well, like we say, Schmeichel didn't have much to do. We were getting past you with ease. If we'd had if you hadn't had Pope in goal, it would have been a lot more. It was just like a complete change around. And I don't think it's been certainly been a long time since I've seen a Burnley defence like that.
Yeah, I mean, how do I say? I can't even go against and say that. You know, you took out our captain, which was, you know, you took out our voice at the back, commanding. Because at the end of the day, as a Premier League football, you should all be shouting at each other and advising each other to do a job, whether you've got a white band round your arm or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just looked after losing Ben-Mee, we did look a bit shoddy at the back.
But even before that,
definitely un-Burnley-like. Definitely un-Burnley-like.
It was, and in the first half, if we'd have gone in 2 or 3 up, I don't think you could have complained.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But did you say it was Taylor that sort of Vardy just sort of went, "Oh yeah," waved at him as he went past
I watched it back, and I've watched it back in slow motion as well. And all you see Charlie Taylor look, and he sees Jamie Vardy, and he sort of thinks, right, I'm going to stick with him. The next minute, as he's turned his head back, you see him sort of slyly turn again. By this point, Jamie Vardy's already here, literally crosses paths with him, and he just goes, as though like, how's he got that? How have you let him get that to the back stick?
Yeah.
I'm not being funny. Whether he's managed to get it to the back stick and Jamie Vardy slots it in or not, you've just let a man run from behind you, run in front of you to bag the second goal. Don't start screaming at the other two defenders. Charlie Taylor's been notorious for that this season. And it's a shame because Eric Peters...
Between Vardy, I think it was 3 defenders between Vardy and... I forget who... It was Maddison, I think, wasn't it, that crossed the ball?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And like I say, it's nice to see, no disrespect, but other teams having problem with the defence as well as us. I was going to go back to this point that he said it was Reece. To play out for. That is something I've noticed these last 2 games. Now, whether it is actually sinking in that we can't play that way, because for a long time we were playing zonal marking at the back, and of course, at corners, zonal marking. Somebody got a corner, you got a goal. I never forget. I forget what game it was, and the commentator said, "Oh, get a corner against Leicester as good as get a goal." Oh, it's a goal, and we've now gone back to man, and we've been playing it about at the back so often, and he wasn't doing that as much, Michael, last night. The one time we did do it, you got the ball off us, and you got a throw in equal with our penalty box. If you're going to lose it, I'd sooner them kick it up and lose it in your half, and we can at least get back. So it's very much Reece taking that point. I wish that Schmeichel had been doing that all season.
No, I agree with you, Chris. I agree with you. Schmeichel was so quiet in that game anyway. He didn't even have to be there, as I've stated. You might as well, as I said on the watch along, he could have took his gloves off, put them back in the packet, and took the receipt and asked for his money back. He literally, they wouldn't have known the difference.
Yes,
that's how poor we were. We had enough of the ball, but didn't do anything with it, and that's the only bugbear I have with yesterday's game. To be fair,
it was a big. I think, but both teams needed the win, without a doubt. And bringing the Leicester team up here. At the back there, and it's been a long time since I've seen them play together because of all the injuries and what have you. But Kagler, Soyuncu, and Daniel Amati, it was like they've been playing together all season.
They were class. I can't say anything about other than that. Soyuncu looked back to his best in that game as well. And even if he did have a bit of a lapse of concentration, Amate were there to pick up the pieces.
He's just come on leaps and bounds.
The strangest thing is, though, Chris, to sit here and say Burnley did absolutely nothing in terms of shots, entertaining Schmeichel's gloves or anything like that. And yet a centre-back for Leicester was the man of the match. Like, it sounds almost like silly to say, but when we were getting forward, as I said, we weren't able to get anything to Schmeichel because Amate, being a one-man army, took it upon himself to say, "Don't worry, boys, I've got this," and cut out everything.
It's an old cliche. I'm going to say it anyway because I'm old. It's like having a new signing because, for a couple of seasons, he's been the Vestergaard of our back line. This season, he's the Johnny Evans of our back line. He really, and they played so well together that Fofana's going to come straight back in. We know that, and I feel sorry for Daniel Amati. We mentioned Tielemans when we were doing the live watch along, that he didn't really get much of many mentions, which makes you think that he's not actually doing much if that's the case. But he was taken off, and I said at the time I was surprised that he'd taken him off because him and Maddison are two players that can change a game.
Yeah, even if they have a bad game, just one moment of brilliance can change the game.
He didn't have to play at all in the FA Cup final, but he got that amazing goal. And unfortunately, we know he's going, and he probably will be going. He's waiting till the end of the season to see who's in the Champions League and take his choice of clubs. But he looked really, and people have been saying sort of like, "Oh, he's not been giving it his all," and what have you. Well, for somebody who doesn't, he's been accused of not caring about the club and not giving it his all, he looked well peed off to be taken off.
Yeah, he did. He wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. He definitely wasn't best pleased about it. Although, as we've said, down the left-hand side was where you was getting most of your, where it was more entertaining. That's where you were attacking us and things like that. That right-hand side wasn't really pulling the punches sort of thing. It was a very one-sided game in terms of the way he was trying to attack us. But you can't fault him. You can't fault him. I think no matter what, if you start a game and you feel in your mind that you're only just starting to get a foothold in the game and things like that, and all of a sudden you see your number come up, you're going to be fuming. You're going to be fuming. There's nothing worse than being subbed, in my opinion. I sometimes think you've got to look at it in two ways. Is it a fitness thing? Keeping fresh for the Leeds game, or is it a case of, look, son, you're not really in the best of form, are you? Off your pop.
But I love the fact, like I say, it's always, you never like your best players to leave, and with Leicester, we know whatever we've achieved, we're never going to be a Liverpool or a Man City. There's always going to be bigger birds out there to come and peck at our food. And I'm admiring the guy that if he's been 10 games to the end of the season when he's probably going to be leaving us, he's still getting peed off that he's been substituted. Carry on for those 10 games, and I think it was. But it was very interesting what you said there about most of our attacking threat was coming down that left-hand side. I mean, on the right-hand side, we had Pereira, who, looking at it, like I say, I'm not got to the bottom of it, but he may not have been 100%.
Could have put you 1-0 up in the game as well, to be fair.
Yes, he did.
Pulled out a real save from
bloody Pope. Yes, I saw then. But he had Albrighton. Love Albrighton. He gives a 100% when he comes on. You can never accuse him of not trying. 300 games he notched up yesterday, so well done to Albrighton. That was the wrong one. I do like Mark Albrighton, but not that much. That was the one. 300 games. I mean, it is an achievement.
It is.
But he's getting on a bit now, and he's maybe getting a little bit more sort of reserved. He knows the game, he reads the game, and where on the other side you had Luke Thomas, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, and Harvey Barnes. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall's 24, is the oldest. They were playing without any fear.
Yeah.
And they knew that, if one of them went forward and went out of position, there would be another one of them behind. I mean, the biggest thing I can say for any of them is we did a thing the other day when they were saying about, what was it? I was on the Spurs channel earlier today, just because I could, and I was taking the pee out of them. I know it's horrible, and we lost to a championship side, but it's Spurs, and it makes me happy. So it was happy. And the question came up because Stephen was in from Stephen S. Fleetley TV. Which player would you take from Leicester? And most of the Spurs people said Harvey Barnes, But to me, the two best compliments I can give is Chilwell, we've not missed him because we've had Luke Thomas coming through. And Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, he's not a Tielemans at the moment, but he makes me not as worried about Tielemans. We don't have to go out and spend 50, 60 million to get a Tielemans replacement. We can go and spend a little bit more and get, somebody that we can develop. And that, you've mentioned it an awful lot, Dan. What's the youth policy like at Burnley? Because you're always saying that your squad's so old and you only get in, when you've gone past 30 and you're ready for your bus pass. I mean, tell me about the youth system at Burnley.
It's a work in progress. We're wanting to gain an academy status. We've known that now for at least a good season and a half. Work needs to be done to get that. However, we've got players coming through. We've just signed. We used to have a Burnley player called Mickey Mellon, who's now the manager of Tranmere Rovers. His son has just signed pro terms at our place as well. Apparently, the youth staff rave about him, so fingers crossed he's going to be a decent one. We've got Wayne Rooney's young cousin, in our youth system as well. Funnily enough, he's a centre back though. He's not a forward, so he's a defender. Jake Rooney. So hopefully he'll come good and be part of the setup at one point. And as we saw, we had young Lewis Richardson, only 20. I think he's just turned 20, on the Burnley bench against Leicester. So, we have got a few youth players in there. It's just about making sure that when you're a Man City and you've got a shed ton of quality, already out there on the pitch, what harm is it sticking somebody on there that's not entirely ready, but gives them an opportunity and, full well will play out the skin to try and do it. At Burnley, when you're currently sort of languishing at the bottom, you're taking a huge risk. We do want to eventually look at our youth system, and, the chairman's actually come out and said eventually we do want to start producing a lot of talent. However, we all know now in English football it's really, really difficult, and sometimes you've got to look abroad and further than the end of your nose to pick out a really good young gem. So who knows? I mean, those days are gone. You look at Everton, you look at Southampton, Arsenal, and their youth systems that have produced, decent players over the years. I would say Chelsea has a youth system, but they play for all different clubs, don't they? Because they're all out on loan. So.
Exactly. I was going to say, will they get the chance at Burnley?
See, that's another thing. We had a youth player called Ali Koike who was pretty decent. He was originally a left back.
Ali up.
He was originally a left back, started playing left wing, and he was getting goals for fun. And we thought, he's going to make the step up. His contract were up. Burnley offered him new terms, and he thought, I want to actually, play regular football. So he left us and joined, I think it was Bristol Rovers when he left us on a free. And now he's currently plying his trade at Northampton Town. So whether he regains himself and goes up the leagues, who knows? But he was a decent player. He looked good. But again, Jimmy Dunn. We had Jimmy Dunn, who was a youngster. He looked ready for first team football in pre-season games this season, and we ended up selling him before the window was out. And I think he's not far off being QPR's top goal scorer.
Right.
I think he's got 4 or 5 goals from defence. That centre back, Jimmy Dunn as centre back. So yeah, he was another good youngster that we've lost out on.
And I'm sorry to have to do this to you now, but
that's a sorry not sorry moment.
It is. You can tell with my sigh here, couldn't I? I mean, we'll go down. I mean, I've got to say, we've only won one game, but it's just like the black clouds have been lifted over at Filbert Way and the KP. We're up there. I say we're up there now in 12th. The thing is, though, games. I didn't realise we're only 12. Some of them 12 games off. Well, if you have a look at Man City, they're only 11 games off the end of the season. It is coming thick and fast. I mean, yeah, I'm looking down here. Is it going to be coming too quick and too fast for Burnley?
I see what you're saying. As I said, the past couple of games we've had have been, midweek, then weekend, then midweek again. It's almost preparation for the championship in a nutshell. But the next couple of weeks are Saturday. So we are being able to sort of recharge the batteries throughout the week. It's going to be interesting. As I said, the game that we've got this weekend at home to Chelsea, back at Turf Moor again. So there's not much travelling involved. However, it's a free hit, this game this weekend, and then the game against Brentford the weekend after is a relegation 6-pointer, which we need the points from. I would rather lose 9-0 to Chelsea this weekend if it guaranteed us 3 points against Brentford the week after. But to be totally honest with you, look at the games that are there this weekend. You host Leeds United, Spurs host Everton. Brentford, Norwich. You know, we could do
You've
with
got
that one
my
finishing a
PayPal if you
draw.
want me to sort of really G the team up, haven't you? You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting to that sort of business end now where you're not just having to do your own dirty work to get the result, but you're also looking over your shoulder at hoping that the teams around you falter as well.
I mean, I'm looking at the games you've got left here, and in fairness, they are a mixed bunch. I mean,
It is, yeah.
Yeah, you've still got your Everton and your Villa game to be arranged.
Mm-hmm.
You say you've got Chelsea this weekend, and no disrespect, you think you would think Chelsea will probably win that. But then again, there's a lot of stuff going on at Chelsea at the moment. So if that's
true.
You know, I'd imagine.
In fact, Chris, what's the latest on that in the FA Cup? Luton were 2-1 up against Chelsea last time I checked.
Oh, were they? Oh, I was thinking about the sale more than the actual.
Luton were beating Chelsea 2-1 at the last time I looked.
Come on, I like Luton. Come on, Luton. Let's have a look, shall we? Let's have a look at the scores on the doors, Miss Ford. Oh, it's finished. It's over. And yes, West Ham are out. Jake, if you're watching this, Jake. Southampton beat them 3-1. And they're having not a bad season. The final score was Luton 2, Chelsea 3.
Ah.
Live on air here. I'm just going to go down now and find Jake's message in. I'm going to enjoy this. I am going to enjoy this. Where are we? Oh, here we go.
He posted a picture, Chris. Did you see? He posted a picture saying we have arrived. I said, did you get a bus? I mean, he only lives in that round corner, doesn't he?
He does. It's nearer than actually going to a home game for him. We are discussing you. I tell you what, bugger it. Let's do it this way. Let me remove that. Let me just try and. There's nothing like rubbing somebody when they're down, kicking somebody when they're down, is there?
I want to say rubbing them when they're down. You definitely must be a physio, Chris.
Yes, or you'd end up in jail.
One or the other.
Yes. Right. Where are we? Chrome tab, Twitter. Here we go. Right. Can we see this? We're discussing the FA. I can't. You can see this, can you?
No, can't see it.
You can't see it. No, but I'll tell you why, because I've not added it in. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, we're discussing the FA Cup in our post-match review, and just noticed. I feel like Michael McIntyre here doing centre wall. And just noticed your score. Oh dear.
Oh, we've had a text back. Who's Chubby? Who's Mr. Cox? Who's Chubby?
Has he replied?
No, I'm just saying that would be on the centre wall. We've had a message from somebody called Chubby. Who's Chubby?
Who's Chubbs? Oh dear, Jakey boy. West Ham's season starting to fall apart, is it?
To be fair, Chris, they were lucky to get through, weren't they? I mean,
they were, yes. Do you think we could have a PMSL on the end? Why not?
Why not? Why not?
There we go. And it's sent. Let's see, because he's probably in the car coming back now. Jake, I love that.
It's a long commute,
I absolutely love doing that live on air. Oh.
It's a big commute for him.
It is. The good news is they've had to take the table down to do that. But okay, going through your games, which I did have up somewhere. So you got Chelsea. You'd think, like you say, I'm guessing that they maybe didn't have a strong team out tonight. I don't know. Brentford, I mean, they are in free fall. I thought they were going to do a lot better than they've done this season.
Yeah.
They started off well, but where Leeds, for example, and Sheffield United in their first season up carried it on, they have kind of, they've let it slip, haven't they? And they're in the battle. I honestly think they're in the battle. That is going to be a big game for you.
Massive game, and we need to be prepared for that, because they'll be up for it, knowing that beat us, it sort of nullifies an opponent in that relegation rat race, and we know the same. We know the same thing. I'm not sure.
Like you said, didn't you? You'd give up the 3 points against Chelsea if you could beat Brentford.
I'd take an absolute tub thumping on Saturday if it meant that we were guaranteed the 3 against Brentford. I would take a 9-0. I would take the biggest scoreline. I'd take an 11-0 defeat if it meant that we. To be fair though, we've got to take some optimism from the fact that out of the 2. Well, I can't say 2 games now, but out of the first time we actually got 3 points this season was against Brentford at Turf Moor. So we've got to look at it and say, right, let's go to the Brentford Community Stadium and fingers crossed get the 3 points there as well. Do the double over them.
And then you've got, I think, 2 tough games. You've got the Sky Sports live game. You host Southampton. And we've just seen they are flying under the radar so much this season.
Massively.
And then you've got your host Man City.
Well, that's our annual roll over on our bellies and get tickled for 90 minutes. So,
but Man City, they are vulnerable. We've seen them be beaten by clubs.
They are, and at that point as well, Chris, they may also be in a title race if the points tally by that game week comes about. They could be trying to play catch up with Liverpool by that point. Who knows?
Yeah. Then, and this is probably your biggest game for me of the season, of the way it's panned out. You travel to Norwich.
Another tough one. We drew 0-0 with them at the Turf. Another game where pretty much, if you watched Manchester United against Watford the other night, then that was pretty much like Burnley against Norwich at the Turf. We threw everything, the kitchen sink, and just nothing was going in for us. It was just an off day. However, you can expect that of Burnley and Norwich. Manchester United against Watford is a completely different kettle of fish, and you'd have expected Manchester United to have put Watford to the sword, but they didn't. So fingers crossed we can find a way of getting past Norwich at that point. But they're fighting as well.
No, this is it. And then you've got, that's why if you win that game, that's a huge. It is the oft mentioned 6-pointer, isn't it?
It is. It gets that monkey off your back, so to speak.
Yeah. You've then travelled to the aforementioned Jake's West Ham, and you then
another 3 points.
Evening, Jack. Evening, Chubbs. How are we doing? Then you host Wolves, and joking aside, potentially 2 difficult games, and then you've got Watford. And this is it. You're not looking at that and going, we've got a hard run in. If you're honest, you're looking at that, and all right, then you've got Villa, you've got Newcastle on the last day, but you've got Spurs in there as well. Now, we know how the way Spurs are up and down like a lift, keeping it clean, you see, up and down like a lift. But I tend to say, looking at that, sometimes you look at the last games of the season, and you think, God, I can't see us getting many points from that. But of all those games, I'd say half of them are going to be hard for you, but half of them are teams around you.
Yeah. The thing is, it's so easy to sit here and just say, Watford, free fall, Brentford are in free fall, Norwich, are they going to be hit and miss like they have been? Who knows? But as every game week comes about, the closer we get towards the end of the season, as I said, these clubs, not just Burnley, but the other clubs in there, Everton, Leeds, they're also looking over the shoulder as well, going, come on, something's got to give here. And if we don't sort our get our crap together, we are, in dire straits.
It is so. I mean, I think it's up until recently. Everybody thought Man City were going to walk away with the league. Liverpool are, thankfully,
12-point
putting
lead
a
at
fight
one
up
point
now, and it is being, and they are winning 2-0 against Norwich in the cup. But down that bottom end, it's the proverbial duck's bottom, isn't it? 17, 6 points from 16th down to 20th. It's going to be an interesting run in Newcastle. Your last game of the season, you were saying at the start of the season, this is going to be this could be the the proverbial one of us is up, one of us is down. I think, unfortunately, whether you agree with it or not, I think Newcastle are going to be safe.
Yeah. I mean, I've not had a look at Newcastle's running, to be fair, but either way, I think Newcastle still have enough about them to probably get out of it.
Yeah.
However, if Newcastle are out of it, and we're scrapping for our lives on that last game of the season, who's to say that Newcastle sort of don't chuck us a lifeline, in a nutshell? You never know.
It happens, doesn't it? And, I've seen it, once a team, like say Norwich, have really, really struggled all season, once they are actually down, the pressure is off. And the team start playing.
It's so strict. We did it. We did it in 2009 when we got relegated. We got relegated. Obviously, we already had the big fat yellow line across us, or red line, as it were, with the R letter at the side. And we had Spurs come to town, and they were 2-0 up. Bale and Modric put Spurs 2-0 up. Next minute, we beat them 4-2, and you're just like, whoa, what's all that about?
So that Newcastle game. And, looking at your running, it could go down to the last few games.
That's the question I've got to ask you, though, Chris, as well. Do you think that it's going to go down to the wire on the final day? And I'm not saying all three options will be open. I mean, points-wise, technically, it is open at the moment. But could you see it?
I've got to say, nothing will surprise me this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the prediction league we do. How bad are we doing? In mine, in yours, in Doug, nobody's doing well because it is such a topsy-turvy season. I mean, we all said Norwich and Watford were going to be 2 to go down, and I stick with that, to be honest with you. Like I say, I haven't checked all the run-ins. It's in your own hands. It is if you get wins against those, and it's a bit stating the obvious, I suppose, but if you can get wins against those teams around you, rather than the draws that you've been sort of getting a lot of this season, I think you'll be safe. You've also with the form that you've shown, all right, forgetting last night, but this form up until that was improving. But again, like us, you stutter. I'm dreading that we're going to go to, we're going to entertain Leeds and we're going to lose. So I think you've got enough about you to stay up. I mean, to be honest with you, for me as a neutral, I would love you to stay up, and I would love to see Blackburn stay up because they're going to be such two amazing.
What, you want them to come up?
Sorry,
you want Blackburn to come up?
Yeah, because I can say that I get fed up with this weekend. It's the Manchester derby. Who gives a shit? Outside of Manchester. Well, actually, outside of Manchester, a lot of people do give a shout because most Man United fans don't live in Manchester. But you get it's the Merseyside derby. Oh, let's have another. And obviously, I've spent a lot of time in Lancashire, but I would love to see you.
I love the derbies. I literally love the derbies. I mean, the time we drew Blackburn in the cup prior to us ever getting promoted. Hope you're well, Scott. We, funnily enough, where I lived at the time was on the main road that took them down to where the turf were.
Right.
So when the minibus were going down with all the Blackburn fans on, and this was obviously, we were in the Championship. I think we were still under Stan Ternant at the time, or Steve Cottrell, I'm not sure. And I'm what? How old? 12? 13 maybe.
Mm.
And I'm stood there, and all these fans, I'm there in my Burnley shirt, and they're all like, we're giving it all stuff. So I'm giving it back as a 12-year-old kid, stood there at this little bus stop across the road from my house. They stopped the bus, and all these fans started piling out, but they're all stood at the door, and then they all got back on and went off. But the way the Burnley-Blackburn rivalry just is, it's just so intense. Honestly, it's pretty much, you see the scenes in Russia and Ukraine now. That's nothing on a Burnley-Blackburn derby match day. I'll tell you that now.
You didn't say that. You didn't just say that. Moving on.
No. I mean, it is proper. They literally block it off. You are literally metal shielded up to the rafters.
I had all my children when I was in Burnley, and must be the water, I'll tell you. And for a while, I had a job at Blackburn Rovers. It was only 6 months. It wasn't.
We all have our crosses to burn, Chris. We all have our crosses to burn.
But for somebody like me to actually be working at a football club, you just think it's brilliant. It's like a kid in a candy store.
It's like a little dream, isn't it?
It is. And on match day, and of course, because you got season tickets because you were the staff. On match day, somebody was sat in my seat once. So I went and got one of a big, not one of these little stewards, a big steward. He goes, "You all right, Chris?" I went, "Yeah, mate, how are you?" "Yeah, I'm fine, thanks." He sat in my seat because he wouldn't move when I asked him to. He said, "Oh, I'm sat here now." This guy, and he virtually almost manhandled him out of the seat. He said, "How do you know that's your seat?" I said, "I bloody work here, that's why." But I can remember we got cheap shirts at the shop. So, of course, because we were watching Blackburn, I had Blackburn shirts. Yeah, I know. But we'd actually stop on the M65 on the way home and get changed because we knew if we drove into Burnley and stopped at any traffic lights at all in a Blackburn shirt, that we'd have no wheels by the time we came to move away. I know how bad it is. I was there.
How would you feel if Forest came up though, Chris?
Now.
How would you feel if Forest came up?
After they stuffed us, I wouldn't want them to. In a way, you normally, as a lot of fans would say, "Good, they're our rivals. They're down there. Look where you are now, Bella. We're up here. We're the biggest team in the East Midlands. How about all this?"
We say it about Blackburn. We're like, "Look up, look up."
Yes, yeah, but you do miss those games, and that buzz that was around when we played Forest. It's the first time in 8 years. Yes, we had the idiots that decided to wanted to smash the town up and ruin it and scare kids and what have you. I thought we'd got past those days, to be honest with you, but every club still has a few Neanderthals that sort of seem to hang about.
That's why I stick to YouTube now. That way I'm stay out of trouble.
But in a way, I'd like it because then you've got the rivalry of we finished above you last season, or the oh shit, don't say anything. They're above us, It just adds something to the season.
Yeah, it does. It does,
and especially for clubs like, I know disrespect, but I'll put both of us into this bracket, Burnley and Leicester, when normally you're probably not going to be playing for a cup. Normally, you're not playing to win the Premier League. And you might not, be fighting relegation. So you've got that mid-table sort of, well, yeah, all right, what we're going to do? We finished 8th again, that's good. Or we finished 7th and we're in the Europa. But you've got that Forest at the weekend. You've got Rovers are coming over. Lock the door, missus. In a way, I'd say I've enjoyed the fact that we've been up here and they haven't. And they've had their time, Forest, and Derby have won it as well, so they've had their time. But there's one reason, like I say, and because of that, the fact that it's been so long ago, I'd want them to come up because it's been so long since we've had that. The reason I wouldn't want them to come up because we would be embarrassed by our fans. Because our fans would be singing the chant that Vichai, we won the Premier League and you haven't. Well, yeah, Forest did win the old top division. It was just called something different. And it's like embarrassing when our fans sort of, you obviously don't know much about football. You're chanting that West Ham have never done this or another team's never done this. They have in the history. It was just called something different. So
that being said, Chris, I don't want to lower the tone or anything, but you've just reminded me with something you said there, and I want to just want to throw my two pennies in with it really, and just say that half of our fan base, I'm absolutely disgusted with some of the things I'd seen online that had been said in that Burnley Leicester game. Nobody should have come out with any of the sayings that were said at that game. There was a portion of fans speaking about the Vichar situation in terms of the helicopter and stuff, and I just think it's disrespectful and downgrading. We've already got a tarnished name, with certain things that have happened with the banner over Man City. Yeah. You're making yourself look like muppets. You're making our fan base look like absolute idiots. And I just want to say on behalf of our fan base, we're not all like that. We're not all Neanderthals, as Chris has said. There is the minority in fan bases.
In every club.
But yeah, we don't stand for that. Our channel doesn't represent that as Burnley Football Club, and I'm sure as hell know that Burnley Football Club does not represent those idiots as well.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for saying that. I must admit, I haven't seen it at all today. I've only been a little bit on the social media. I've been doing sort of, artwork and what have you. So I haven't really seen it. I can remember that the first game that we played after the helicopter accident, I think it was actually at Burnley, or it might have been at Leicester. And I think
it was at Leicester because they did a walk to the stadium, didn't they? Or something like that.
Right, you're quite right. It did. But the reason I was saying that was because in the back, your then chairman,
Mark Garlick,
the TV guy, man, as I call him, he wrote such a nice piece. He had a whole page, 2 pages in the back, the inside back cover for it was a special program.
Yeah.
And he was so nice about what he said, and I always respect Burnley for that. I mean, like I say, I've worked in Burnley. I lived in Burnley. I've had all my kids in Burnley. Burnley were brilliant, totally brilliant when, as an away fan's dad, because I wanted my kids to be a mascot. And this was in the day when there was only, one mascot per team. And Leicester turned around and said, can we have one at an away game? And he said, well, we're more than happy as long as you got the up-to-date kit, blah, blah, blah. But it is up to Burnley. And obviously at the time, well, not obviously, but I worked at the Burnley Express, the newspaper.
Yeah.
So the sports editor obviously had a few words with his contacts. And Burnley were absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The photographer and everybody. And I have total respect as a club for Burnley, and I do really appreciate you saying that. I haven't seen it, I must admit, and I'm not going to go looking for it.
No, I've not. As I say, I've not seen videos, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I just think it's derogatory, it's wrong, and it needed to be mentioned that my channel and Burnley Football Club, especially, do not stand for that minority.
I know you well enough to know that, as foul-mouthed as you are, that is not you, and I really do appreciate those words. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for that. Definitely
not a problem.
But there's banter. It's part of football, and I know we live in a snowflake world, and I'm the world. I hate snowflakery, and I hope wokeism and whatever it's called. You've got to have a bit of banter. And like England internationals, I will boo the Italian or the German national anthem. It doesn't mean that I have any disrespect for them from the war, because I wasn't born when the war was around. It just means that I don't like them as a football
I'm sat there
nation.
watching England-Germany, booing the national anthem while tucking into one of their most delicious pizzas that have been made.
I know.
That's 22.
This is it. So, but the banter is one thing, but some people, they just haven't got that cock stop thing to turn the gob off before they open it. There's nothing between that and that that stops it coming out, unfortunately.
Too true.
But kind words. Thank you very much. Now, I know that that's the last time we played each other this season.
It is.
I am looking forward. Oh, sorry. No, I'm going to. Sorry. Before I say this, I'm going to throw something back at you, because you said to me, "Would you want Forest up? Would you want Blackburn up?"
No. I mean, if we draw them in a cup, I'm happy with that. I don't think I want them up. No. It's always nice to play them. However, I think for us at the time, when it was 34 years and we'd not beat them in that long, and it was almost like, when's the next game against Blackburn? Because we wanted to get that hoodoo off our back.
Yes.
But once we have, it's almost like it should be them itching to play us to steal the bragging rights, not us saying, come back again. I mean, we've had games against them since, and we just kept beating them. I'll never forget that day. It's I'll never forget that day at Ewood Park that we managed to turn the result around, and we ended up winning the game. Danny Ings and Jason Shackle winners, and one of the games I cried at, because and it wasn't just me. I looked around the stadium, and there's blokes older than me crying, thinking, you know what? I'm 40 odd years old. I've not seen Burnley beat Blackburn yet, and I'm witnessing it. I'm here. I'm seeing it. So yeah, Dan, did you want a 50-50 on Blackburn coming up or phone a friend? No, definitely not.
Do you think, because depending who you speak to as a Leicester fan, for me, it's always been Coventry. They're our nearest rivals. It's the M69 derby. They were one of the teams that had been in the top flight longer than any others for many years. We haven't played them. We played Forest and Derby more recently than Coventry, because they went, say, down to the third tier. But I don't think of them now, because it's been so long. I don't think of it as sort of a local derby. But if it's through, we got them in the cup or something, then maybe that might ignite it. But do you think, if you were in the position you were a few seasons ago, when you were going for you ended the season qualifying for the Europa League, would you then want Blackburn to come up?
No.
Still not.
No.
I'm just thinking because at the moment you might look.
I think at that point you're almost looking past that. You're thinking, if you've consecutively started, finishing in European spots and things like that, I don't know. I mean, it's almost like Preston. Preston were a really good rivalry when we're in the Championship, and now we've played them in like pre-season friendlies and stuff, and you're just like,
yeah.
This is a game that I got banned for getting my arse out against, outside the stadium when I mean, I was an idiot that day. I'll be totally honest with you.
That is a sight that we're all glad we missed.
Well, I got it out to ask Chris. That's why I weren't allowed on the game, and it was the first time we'd won at Deepdale as well in so God knows how long. So
you telling me the story. I also remember, and this was I think when I was in Burnley, that you were objecting, and I can't remember whether you were objecting to the owners or the manager, but you'd paid to actually go in and watch the game, and then you all turned your back on the game.
Right. Well, that under Teesdale and Casper.
I've no idea who either of those are, but it was
Frank Teesdale and Frank Casper.
It was when I was in Burnley. So it was pre-Stan Turnant's days, I'm pretty sure. But
yeah, so you'll have had Chris Waddle.
It might have been Waddle, because that's when I started taking my kids down, and how they actually started to still love football after taking them down to watch Chris Waddle's. It wasn't Chris Waddle's Burnley, because like I said the other day, you were known as Burnley Nil at the time, Burnley Nil FC. But yeah, you all went in. You have to Google it. You all went in, and you paid the money, and then at a set time, you just turned your back and didn't watch the game. I'm like, I paid for this. I'm watching it. I've been like that over my shoulder. But Dan, hope we're going to speak to each other again before the end of the season.
Of course we are. I'll be back on Monday, won't I, Chris? I've got a quiz to try and win.
Oh, and I'm on yours on Friday because I've got some games to try and predict.
Certainly
and top
are.
of the league to try and stay at.
Certainly are.
And I did put out today the headings for the 4 rounds. I don't know if you saw them.
I did.
And how are you feeling about them?
I know what you're like with your 3-2-1 situation. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure I'll find out when you break down the rules to us about those rounds.
Oh, you will indeed. And you're used to knowing it in advance because I'll usually run them past you. But is Craig going to beat you and stay video first person to remain as champ for 2 weeks? That is the question.
Probably.
You know.
I can't see it.
No, but I'm going to see you before that on Friday at 9.
You will,
and we'll probably talk to each other because I think your mum was complaining about not getting the maintenance check or something, so we need to sort that out.
It's all right. She says as long as you're in regular contact with your dad, she's not too fussed about the payment.
I'm going to say, because I thought I should have stopped paying for you about 22 years ago or something. You know, I think she's fleecing me still, claiming. I will see you at 9 o'clock on Friday, as they probably speak
Certainly
to you.
Will.
Your details, your Twitter and your YouTube are in the description below. Guys, go over and give Dan's channel a follow. He does a lot of non-Burnley stuff as well. And even if you just go over to laugh at them, and it's easy to do that this season, you're going to laugh at them, make sure you subscribe first, because that doesn't matter. But just tell everybody where they can find you, apart from obviously on this channel a lot at the moment.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also on TikTok, but I'm in 2 minds whether to keep that going at the moment.
Yes. I started a TikTok and didn't. It sort of just died.
It's too much p-farting about. I do too much p-farting about trying to sort all my images out for me on YouTube channel, let alone doing the TikToks.
Yes.
But yeah, you can catch us on all social media platforms, and you can catch us on podcast platforms as well. Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. But please do make sure that you show your support to Chris, because Chris puts a lot of effort in. And he doesn't just have to press fancy little funny buttons. Off camera, he's constantly in contact with me. Do you think this looks all right? Do you think that looks all right? And he clearly values my input just as much as I value his. So do go show Chris your support, because he's an absolute cracking guy and with a great channel as well.
You are too kind, sir. You are too kind. For those, and we've got.
I think I need to start swearing again.
Now, if we're doing this properly, we've got to go back and see if we've had any replies to the.
Usually the replies are from Ofcom.
And funnily enough, Jake is very quiet. Yes.
He must have been arguing. That's it, though. He's had a defeat. He's staying off social media. The internet goes down when West Ham fans have had a defeat.
Well, in fairness, he does live in Somerset, so I mean, it's Scrumpy that keeps their electricity going. Scott just added at the end here, or you can find Dan outside Turf Moor either mooning or having a cheeky leak.
The last time we were successful from a corner, Scott.
Yes. And he could have had his leak yesterday because it was St. David's Day. Thank you very much, young man. And
not a problem.
See you Friday, but speak to you before then, of course. Anyway, thanks
Definitely
very much.
Will. Thanks for having me, and hope everyone's well. Stay safe.
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you so much there to Dan. Just to point out, like I said, if you look at my background, that is yellow, Dan. Look where the pen's pointing. That is yellow. Yours was shitty brown. I'm not going to lie. But thank you, Dan, for those kind words as well. Like I said, I hadn't seen it all, but we know no football club out there should be tarred by the few idiots that each club attracts, and we all have them. And if you don't know who the nut at your club is, then it's probably you. It's like when I took my car into the garage and said, I've got a loose nut. He said, where is it? It's behind the steering wheel. He said, oh, it must be you then. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll leave you on that one. You're probably glad of. Thank you for watching Leicester Till I Die TV. Please go and subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe to Dan's as well, Turfmoorhouse. And if you've been listening on the podcast, thank you so much. Amazon, Apple iTunes, Google, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or your favorite podcast platform. 20,000 downloads in about 14 months. I just can't get my head around it. I just can't get my head around it. Thank you, Dan, there for your round of apathy. Thank you very much. I am back. When am I back? I will be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Can't help us. It's another prediction show. We'll probably do bad again on that. I will see you then. Thanks very much. And remember, whatever you do, don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy. Take care, guys. Stay safe. I'll see you tomorrow night.
That's all, folks.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now.